So, Shantae, right? Pretty great series. Risky's Revenge was a fun, if short, DSi experience. Pirate's Curse is still one of the best Metroidvania games I've ever played, and while Half Genie Hero wasn't as good as that, it was still a great romp that's now packed with content thanks to the Ultimate Edition. Now, the latest entry in the franchise, Shantae and the Seven Sirens, is out, and I'm gonna be honest, I was a bit skeptical about this one. Granted, I still thought it would be good, but the weird two-part release and the initial platform, the Apple Arcade, left me weary. Nothing against mobile games, but knowing that it would be the lowest common denominator gave me the impression that Seven Sirens was going to be cheaply made. Well, never let it be said that I can't be wrong. Shantae and the Seven Sirens is not only a great game, but it's one of Shantae's best adventures yet. The plot sees Shantae and her friends on vacation at Paradise Island, a resort island built on the top of an ancient sunken city. Shantae's exploits have caught the attention of the mayor of Arena Town, and is formally invited for an all-expense-paid trip to the island so that she can participate in the Half Genie Festival alongside her fellow Half Genies. However, during a practice run, the other Half Genies vanish, leaving Shantae the only one left. This sudden disappearance, and the equally as sudden appearance of longtime foe Risky Boots, prompts Shantae to action, setting off to save her new friends, solve the secrets of Paradise Island, and stopping whatever Risky has planned. The plot's pretty par for the course, though like the other games it shines in the writing, which is as sharp as ever. Be it exchanges between characters or quips that you see in the NPC dialogue, the game's pretty funny throughout and maintains a whimsical charm that runs from the beginning all the way to the credits. Also enhancing the story a bit are the addition of new 2D animated cutscenes, usually coinciding with boss fights and some story beats. These definitely stand out and helps give the game a unique feel from the others. The intro was even animated by Studio Trigger, and I gotta say, seeing this playing in a theater before premiere was definitely a sight to behold. In fact, let's just get the presentation out of the way. This game is beautiful. Part of me misses the 2.5D style of Half Genie Hero, but Paradise Island is no less filled with life. There's a whole lot of little details that make the environments pop, and the animations on the characters themselves are as fluid as ever, making Seven Sirens a joy to look at, be it through stills or in motion. For clarity, I played the game on the Switch, both docked and in handheld, and the game looked and ran great on both, and the soundtrack's boppin' too. This is actually the first game in the franchise to not feature series composer Jake Kaufman, and while I feel like this soundtrack on the whole doesn't reach the levels of the previous ones, it's still really good in its own right. It does rely a bit too much on chiptunes in my opinion, but all the tracks are still bouncy, full of energy, and distinctly Shantae. The gameplay front sees a return to form for the franchise. If you're unfamiliar with the Shantae games, they're 2D Metroidvanias where you run around beating enemies, collecting items, and working through dungeons in order to gain new abilities to explore further. Gone is the level-based approach of Half Genie Hero, and even the multiple island structure of Pirate's Curse. We're kicking it like it's 2010 back to one very large map with warp points that help you travel around. Paradise Island is split into multiple areas that are all decently sized, packed with secrets and caverns that host mini challenges for the returning heart squids, which increase your max health. The island on the whole is comfortable to explore. It's big, but still small enough to where you can comfortably get to where you need to be without losing too much time. The map does a pretty good job of showing you where you've been and where you still need to explore, and should you find yourself stumped on where to go next, the townsfolk are pretty good at pointing you in the right direction. Despite the change in structure, Shantae's combat is virtually identical to Half Genie Hero. Your main form of attack is Shantae's Hair Whip, which you can increase the power and speed of by purchasing items in the shop. This is also where you buy various spells that help you in combat at the cost of your magic meter. Though these certainly don't break the game like they did in Half Genie Hero, they no less still make combat a breeze. Just gonna say this now, get the scimitar as soon as you can. It tears through enemies and bosses before you even have the chance to worry about running out of magic. In fact, as is standard for the series, Seven Sirens isn't terribly hard, though that's not necessarily a bad thing. Money's very easy to come by, meaning you'll easily be able to buy everything you need. Health potions are very cheap, enemies still drop health items, so it's very easy to stock up on healing items, and even if the enemies manage to get the better of you, the game's very generous with its save points. New to this game is the monster card system. In addition to items, enemies have the chance to drop one of these cards, and from the menu you can equip up to 3 of these to change aspects of how Shantae plays. It can be something as minor as faster crawling speed to something as major as an increase to magic or attack. You will need a certain amount of cards to use some of these, and you likely won't be swapping much out once you find a combination that works for you, but it's an extra little layer to enhance the game, though there's one problem that we'll get into in a bit. The dungeons are once again pretty familiar territory. You explore rooms, solve puzzles, get keys to get to more rooms, and eventually fight a boss. These are also where you get new abilities, which is where the biggest change to Seven Sirens comes in. Shantae no longer accesses her animal transformations via dancing. That's now reserved for these spells that are used for environmental puzzles. Shantae now obtains fusion coins to gain new transformations, which are activated by standard button presses instantly. I'm just gonna say it straight up, these transformations are the best that the series has ever seen, and it all has to do with speed. In previous games, if you wanted to climb a wall, you'd have to stop in place, perform the monkey transformation, wait for the animation, and then you do it. Here, you press right trigger, and bam, you're a newt, you're cute, and you're on the wall. Part of what made Pirate's Curse so good was the speed in which Risky's gear was used, and it helped keep that game moving at a pace that was so fun to keep up with. However, that came at the cost of one of Shantae's defining features, her transformations, and thus a part of the charm was lost. Here, it's the best of both worlds. We still have the half-genie charm of transforming into cute animals, but we also have the speed and utility of the Risky gear. And yeah, because of the speed, these transformations have utility that the animal transformations of old only wish they could match. The newt isn't just for climbing up walls, it's also an invincible dash that's good for avoiding enemies. The turtle isn't just for breaking blocks, it's also good for shooting across straightaways at breakneck speeds. I don't think I need to tell you what use a double and triple jump is, and while digging and swimming isn't nearly as useful, again, it's quick, and seeing how much of it you have to do, that's a really good thing, ensuring that you're always moving. I love this new transformation system, and I hope it becomes the standard for future games. This makes playing through Seven Sirens a really good time, though when going for 100%, some cracks begin to show. I said earlier that the map is good at showing you where you have and haven't been, which is true, but what it doesn't do a good job at doing is letting you know what's in an area. The map doesn't mark where these caverns are, meaning you have to run back through each one if you want to get every heart squid. And there's no counter telling you how many collectibles there are in an area, which is rough because dungeons do exactly that. And it's especially a big blow because some of these are very hidden. Seven Sirens loves hiding invisible collectibles, so the only way to find everything is to use all of your environmental spells, one at a time, in every room. Once I found one of these invisible heart squids on a complete whim, I gave up completely and just used a guide, because I knew I would absolutely be spending hours combing every inch of the map trying to find invisible secrets. But I did get all of them, and by the end of my first playthrough, I was only at 77%. Where was the rest of the items? Those would be the cards. These also count towards item completion, and that's the problem I mentioned earlier. Let's start small. One of the other main collectibles are these nuggets, which can be traded after every chapter for boss cards, which offer really good perks. Sounds simple enough, and you even get a decent chunk of them just by going through the game. Going for all of them is another story though. These can be just as hidden as the heart squids, and everything I mentioned there still applies. But even the normal cards are a bit tedious to get. Every enemy in the game has a chance of randomly dropping a card. Randomly. That means if you want every card in the game, you have to grind them out until you get the needed cards. This breaks the pace of the game in half, and it's the main reason why, in both of my 2 playthroughs, I didn't even bother with 100%, which is a shame. Though hey, talking about playthroughs slides nicely into the point that Seven Sirens is very replayable. Depending on how thorough you are with your exploring, the game only takes about 5 to 7 hours, but that makes starting the game fresh for the sake of speedruns and whatnot very approachable. There's also New Game Plus, which is how I played the game for this footage, though it's really more like an extra difficulty here. You start the game from scratch with a spiffy new outfit and double magic, with the trade-off being your defense being cut in half. It's perfect for if you thought the standard adventure was a bit too easy, but part of me wishes that the abilities also carried over for a wackier speedrun mode similar to what Pirate's Curse did. With all of that said, Shantae and the Seven Sirens is no doubt one of Shantae's strongest adventures yet. Part of me still prefers Pirate's Curse, mainly due to nostalgia and the fact that that game's easier to 100%, but man, when it comes to just playing the game on any percent, Seven Sirens is a really close second. The game is $30, which might seem a bit steep for the length. If you're unsure of if Shantae is for you, I still think the $20 Pirate's Curse is an excellent starting point, but if you're willing to take the plunge, Shantae and the Seven Sirens will not disappoint. So, phenomenal work again, Wayforward, sorry for doubting you, and I'm looking forward to the next one. That's it from me, so until next time, see ya!